KP Scholars, Vision in Motion.
Teenagers, they're going through a period of change. They're searching. They really are confused.
They see role models out there, whether it's in the music industry, all that stuff, and that's all they look up to.
I had that blocked wall with my mother and myself, and because of that blocked wall, I made some wrong decisions.
My saying is that, if role models and your community doesn't teach you, guess who's going to teach you? And that's going to be the streets.
Mentoring has become a key method of intervention to provide surrogate support in those instances where adult advocacy is void.
I think students both in the suburbs and particularly the inner city, it's valuable for a mentoring relationship, one or more mentors, because perspective on how they see things is always more helpful. Sometimes life at home, you get one perspective and other perspectives are needed. And also it's like you have a buddy, somebody that has more experience in the world, but is kind of like a big brother who can, in a nice way, help you figure some things out.
Student and teacher Kamal Rowe and Aaron Walsh discuss the significance of how their mentoring relationship has proven beneficial for them both.
I consider Aaron to be, as much as my best friend, as a mentor. I really do look up to him, and he's really helped me out a lot.
Kamal is really someone that I've guided and encouraged him and pushed him to do things that he may not have wanted to. I think that the role of a faculty or a teacher or a mentor is to pull people out of their comfort level and encourage them. So you can do this. Kamal and I have developed a relationship where he can rely on me for direction and I can actually help push him forward in his skill set. And that mentoring was essential.
The KP Scholars Program is a long-term life development and mentoring program that integrates existing community resources, immersive education, and innovative technology to deliver a comprehensive solution for the complex needs of today's youth.
The catalyst for the Kinetic Potential Scholars Program is looking at the needs of today's youth. What we work on is vision. How can we help scholars believe that they can be anything that they want to? How do you do that when you don't see these individuals around you? Investment bankers, venture capitalists. These are all things that are attainable, and so what we want to do is expose them to what these career opportunities are. And so we really focus with our scholars in terms of how can they accomplish these goals.
We recently visited McKinley Technology High School in Washington, D.C. to discuss the KP Scholars Program with the students and faculty.
I think one of the biggest problems for young people in the suburbs and the inner city, but particularly the inner city, is it's very difficult. Not enough professionals have the time or the wherewithal how to come in and meet with teenagers and explain to them what the careers are, how you go about it.
How many of you guys know doctors? How many people know a doctor? Not your doctor, but like a family friend. Well, the principles behind the Kinetic Potential Scholars Program really apply to anyone. We really think that anyone who is at a point where they really want to make a change in their circumstances, who has a large vision, who wants to plan for their future, we think this program's for them.
Providing long-term mentorship for today's youth is not just a moral responsibility, but it is also a business imperative.
Part of our national security to have a workforce for the 21st century that can solve problems, that are critical thinkers and actors and good citizens, and literacy and basic quality education is part of that equation.
The war on talent, even though it's an old coined phrase, is still very much alive. The lack of qualified technical folks is very dramatic, not only locally in Washington, D.C., as well as nationally and also globally. When it comes to selecting and engaging talent in your companies, the younger the youth that you get involved with, the better. Corporate America needs to rise to the challenge of doing something about the youth of today.
Distinguishing factors between the Kinetic Potential Scholars Program in comparison to other mentoring programs, I would say there are three things. First is the program timeline. The Kinetic Potential Scholars Program looks at a long-term time horizon. The second factor that distinguishes the Kinetic Potential Scholars Program from other mentoring programs is a focus on integrating nonprofits into a service network. What we'd like to see is a program where we can network those organizations into a delivery network. So in essence, what we want to do is really reverse engineer the process, understand what corporate America is looking for, and then we look for those organizations, those nonprofits who are helping to build those competencies. And the last thing that distinguishes the Kinetic Potential Scholars Program is the focus on technology. Our technology allows us to match the students' needs with the social programs that are in existence today, as well as it gives us the capability to assess, to understand how well students are developing in accordance with their career development plans, as well as to continue to track their long-term growth.
We went to Boston to talk with thought leaders in immersive education about the potential of this technology and learning experience to support youth outside of the classroom.
Immersive education is a combination of virtual reality and rich forms of digital media, all in the service of education. So we have the notion of virtual worlds and video games. Those are your virtual environments. You have multimedia like movies, videos, and you have collaborative applications, sharing applications together. That is the essence of immersive education, is a variety of media types lashed together for education.
We became interested in the field of immersive education largely as a result of there not being any evident way to really work directly through the traditional K-12 school systems. Frankly, one of the most attractive things about using video game technology is the fact that most people play games in their spare time at home.
When we talk about classrooms, for example, or K through 12, we're confining and limiting the audience of participants when the real need, long-term needs for this nation in the 21st century is lifelong learning.
The opportunity to leverage 3D virtual worlds to support commerce, training, and collaboration is being explored by some of the most distinguished organizations in the U.S.
We're experimenting with Second Life as a vehicle to do what they're calling at NASA AIMS participatory exploration, to get the public into that exploration, and where we're trying to make NASA's educational materials more accessible to teachers so they can use them with their students.
I've been very committed to having access for all students, regardless of income, regardless of color, regardless of economic circumstances. This is a tool where we can provide these in all communities. We can get to at-risk youth, we can get to normal youth, if you will, traditional kids. We can get to everybody. After school can provide math, English tutorials. It could help students with who are learning English for the first time. We could start teaching trade skills to people. We could do a lot of things that I think we're not doing well now.
This summer, we invited 30 students to work with us with the cancer, learning about cancer, how it applies to African Americans, and then be able to represent that back in a virtual world, Second Life. And we found over the 6 weeks that not only did they learn about cancer, but they enjoyed then making the virtual world and being able to discuss the cancer that they had kind of become an expert in.
Using this concept of immersive education, we feel very confident that we're able to teach kids the skills and develop the skills that they're going to need, not only educationally, but socially, to be effective leaders of society, effective corporate citizens.
We believe our solutions have the potential to systematically change the lives of millions of youths as they navigate their adolescence and prepare for adulthood. We ask you to join us in the fight to rebuild our communities and the future leaders of tomorrow in hopes of a brighter future.
So the way to fix this, and we have to start today, a lot of people are aware of the problem, but it's time now to change from awareness to action. It's really in the classroom and on the job.
We're talking about the future of our country, and I'm not thinking in terms of economic variables or race variables or language variables. I'm talking about kids who have an opportunity to sit down and learn, and if they can't do that because we don't have the tools to get into those communities, we have failed. The kids haven't failed, we have failed.
KP Scholars, Vision in Motion.